What's going on, my pretty pandas? It's your Huggable Hipster here, and welcome back to today's review. Today's review is going to be a kind of an interesting one for me to do because it took me so long to write this article. It took me so long to formulate the words that I really wanted to, and it's, in my opinion at least, it's very short, sweet, and to the point. There was a lot that I could do with this and go from different angles of how I wanted to go about reviewing it. Was it a good game? Was it not? It was a DLC, so I knew that the review was going to be shorter no matter what. And the game that I'm referring to, as you guys can tell by the title of the video, is Amnesia, a Machine for Pigs. Now, as you guys know, I have not laughed this hard ever in a video game. And from having a codename of Special Eagle Cactus Fruit to the taking of one's manhood, I feel like it's very, very important to say that this game and its notes were very, not only good, but hilarious, depending on the perspective of what you're looking at. He makes you forget, so you can remember everything all over again. Vivid detail and terrorizing imagery, we can only hope that death is a blissful escape from the reality that has consumed us, that has taken us, and that has turned us into our nightmare. In this mind-tingling continuation of Amnesia: The Dark Descent, we are introduced to an entirely new concept in this chapter, where it is an indirect sequel, to say the least, from the original game. It goes into a new perspective and a terrifying plot twist that is slightly comedic that will make even the strongest of souls giggle. The plot of this game takes a slight twist from the first, as we see more of a manic and urgent side of the developers' tone, to say the least, where it shines in a sense of where both games have corrupt men in them. They have corrupt purposes that need to be looked at psychologically, even, because within each game you have someone who has corrupted these men into doing something that they never thought they could even humanly and possibly do ever. Even though this game has a completely new setting, it still has that Amnesia feel to it. Very unpredictable, with jump scares, a spooky mood, and very in-depth notes that are paired with unbelievably good voice acting. Now, in this game, it wasn't too incredibly long. Yes, there were some lengthy bits, but in comparison to the first game, it was quite an easy one to get through. Now, the ending didn't really satiate my palate as far as completing a good storyline goes. It felt undone, and it felt like the developers were going to create another game, but sadly, there was no talk of a third DLC or even a second game for that matter. There was nothing to combat the questions and what ifs in my head saying, oh, okay, this is what happens to this person, and this is why he has to go into the machine. Like, there are several answered questions of why, you know, Mandus actually goes into the machine, but it didn't feel complete. Like, any gamer out there who plays a video game knows when the game feels complete, and you would just have that kind of like woman's intuition of when, yes, honey, it's completed. We're done. Rest in peace. Now, some of the plot lines take place in the past, some in the present, and the game's protagonist, Oswald Mandus, who's implied to be the great-grandnephew of Daniel from the previous game, wakes up from a fever that he contracted in Mexico. All of you remember that wonderful time in Mexico. He contracted whenever he went to an exploration to the Aztec Mountains in Mexico, and he got the orbs, or the light, so to speak, in the game. It is probably from the previous game that we played, Amnesia: A Dark Descent. Do you guys remember those orbs? Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was those things. In this game, his sons Edwin and Enoch have been captured, and Mandus has to retrieve them from the machine. Like how it has kind of a it's given that humanistic feel to it, you know. Every time that I was playing the game, just as a side note for a second, the machine was personified as a human being, which I mean, I'm kind of living for, honestly, because whenever I was playing this game, I thought, okay, they personified a machine to give it human qualities, and throughout the game I thought, oh, we're actually going to meet the engineer, we're going to meet this machine type person. No, it's just a machine. It was personified to give these humanistic evil tendencies, which was really great script writing, or really great writing in general, actually. She is turned on and betrays Mandus and unleashes the man-pigs, which I don't know why I find funny, but it's kind of funny, like, you know, when it's said like that. Release the man-pigs! Release the man-pigs out into the streets of London, collecting victims to feed the machine. Ultimately, through many puzzles and talking to the engineer, Mandus gains his memories back and realizes that he sacrificed his sons to the machine in hopes that it would save the world, but alas, it did not. Maybe he was going through some crazed delusions there in Mexico, huh? Ever think of that? Contracted malaria can do strange things to your mind there, buddy boo. And then after that, after he finds out that he actually ended up killing his sons, he ends up sacrificing himself to the machine, which is supposedly supposed to make everything whole again. But the world will never be normal. Will the pigs reign supreme? Will an evil world be the new normal? Find out in next week's episode. Would I recommend this game, Amnesia: Machine for Pigs? If you have played the first game, it actually continues the story in a very interesting way. You don't really get the sense that this guy Mandus is like the great grand nephew of Daniel. Like, that doesn't really, it's not very clear that that's the case. But throughout playing the game, you see the notes and you see kind of like a prologue aesthetic to the whole thing, because it says a story of amnesia in such an interesting turn. Like I said, it's not a direct sequel to the game. It's an indirect DLC. I mean, depending on what notes you find and how deep you actually go into the game, you're probably just as perverted as I am. An eagle cactus fruit might be something completely different. There were really creative monsters in the game. There were very creative ideas that were brought to light that continued the previous game, in a way that I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. And then it went into like these different twists and turns with the electric, like a lantern pig or something, which I thought might have been an add-on because they wanted to add that demon, that monster thing, probably, and they didn't know how. The dev was probably like, okay, let's add it in here so he has to turn on a couple of lights and a couple of things, and then we'll make it kind of like a mini boss battle. It wasn't a boss battle because it's kind of like Outlast. All you can do is hide or run. I prefer running. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's review. If you guys like my face and what I do, please be sure to subscribe and hit the bell down below because I make videos every weekday. Stay casually nerdy, you guys, and I will talk to you all in tomorrow's video. Peace.